Nvidia's plan to get you to buy RTX 4000 is working and you don't even know it. You may be saying, well, I have a 3090. It's a great GPU. I don't need a 4070 Ti or RTX 4000. Well, Nvidia is going to make it with their little secret weapon so that you're going to have to upgrade to RTX 4000 because it's just going to be so good and you're not going to have a choice. Right now, they still have a lot of these guys to get rid of. The RTX 3000, mostly 3060s and 3070s, so they don't have 100% incentive to really push this secret weapon. But as soon as they sell all of their RTX 3000 GPUs, I bet you they're going to start investing even more into the big thing that they're doing. Now, I'm going to tell you what that is. And some of you guys are going to immediately, I know what you're going to say. Oh, fake frames. DLSS 3.0 is much bigger than you think. And yes, I agree with you. It's an early technology and Nvidia uses it almost as like a marketing tactic to like trick you into thinking their GPUs are better. There's a lot wrong with it, but there's also a lot right. For example, look at what they just released, Cyberpunk 2077. This game pretty much sucked at 4K unless you had a very powerful GPU. Even the 3090 really gets its butt kicked. It's not really fair. I tested it out with the new DLSS 3.0 upgrade, and I think you guys are going to see it's pretty interesting. Take a look at this. At 4K with Psycho ray tracing settings, pretty much the max that you can do. If you turn any type of super sampling off with an RTX 4090, you're only going to get like 30 frames per second. It's kind of unplayable. You can like kind of look at it, but it doesn't even look that good because when you're playing that low with the frame rate, very unpleasant experience. Now, if we go into the settings and we change a couple things around and we put regular DLSS like it had before, the second version of DLSS, then you're going to see a little bit of an uplift. You're going to be maybe hitting 45 and maybe in some areas of the game 50 frames per second, but that's still under 60 frames per second, and this is way too low. Keep in mind this is 4K Psycho ray tracing settings, everything on Ultra and Psycho for ray tracing. It's the absolute most that you can get. Now, Nvidia just released DLSS 3.0. Look what happens when you turn it on. The frame rate goes much higher. You're now hitting above 80 frames per second, and even if you tweaked the settings a little bit, this is going to be on DLSS 3 with the quality settings, the best one that you can do. If you put it on balanced or any of the other performance settings, you're going to be getting well over 100 frames per second. So that's a huge boost in sort of the frames. You may be saying, well, doesn't this introduce a lot of latency to your gaming? Well, it does, but then Nvidia DLSS 3.0 is not only frame generation, but it's also Nvidia Reflex will really reduce the latency of this game. So let's separate from Nvidia talking points that they would do into what DLSS obviously is, because look, it's going to be around if you like it or not. And how are they going to force you to use it? It's very possible games in the future that are very demanding and not optimized very well, developers may get lazy and just by default have DLSS 3.0 enabled. And if you don't have a newer RTX 4000 GPU like this guy, you're going to have to play on something like this without it, and it's going to be a huge performance penalty. So you may actually be forced to go and upgrade to a RTX 4000 or above where you can use DLSS 3.0. So that's the way that they can definitely get you if they don't just make it so good that you want to upgrade anyway to it, which is kind of like what's happening. When I play a single player game like Cyberpunk, if it has a little bit more latency and the graphics are much better and the frame rate, I'm going to be okay with that because it's a single player game. It's not like a competitive game you're going to be playing online. In those cases, it's different. So here, I'm completely okay with it. And as time goes on and these things get more optimized, you're just going to have better and better graphics, and you're not going to be able to even notice any artifacting or any downfalls of DLSS 3.0 and whatever versions come later. So the technology is definitely progressing. You can't simply say it's just fake frames and dismiss it. Now, I will say that, the 4090 is a very powerful GPU and you're being able to push a lot of frames already without this on. If it's a much weaker GPU and you're getting substantially below 60 frames per second, it's possible your experience may not be the best. Even with DLSS 3.0, you have to hit at least a certain minimum in raw performance, at least for now, for it to really work well. For the 4090, at 4K with these type of games, it actually does really well because the 4090 is so powerful that any little boost that it gets gets is just going to really smooth out that situation a lot better and allow you to max out every single setting. If you're going to be playing like on a 4070 Ti, by example, then you may not be able to have everything maxed out. You're going to have to drop a couple things, but even then, DLSS 3.0 is going to make a huge impact on certain games that are really going to need it. And if Nvidia uses it to artificially pump up the numbers of their GPUs or not, it's something that's here to stay, and developers are also getting on board because it makes it easier for them. Their game performs a lot better with this type of, magic, if you will, rather than having to have it really optimized or maybe having less graphics. And as the RTX 4000 generation matures and more models come out and they sell all of the RTX 3000, I think we're going to start to get away more and more of the older technology, and you're going to be almost forced to buy a newer GPU because by then the technology is either going to be so good that you're going to want to, or Nvidia is going to lock you in with the developers, making you have to activate this in the game or face a tremendous performance penalty, making every other old GPU pretty much unusable. So while right now there aren't a huge amount of games implementing DLSS 3, a lot of new games are starting to, and as the years go on, it's definitely the way technology is going. So just something to think about as you consider your upgrade path in the future. And if AMD is going to have a good answer with FSR to this technology, I think it's going to be vital because it's going to supercharge GPU performance without needing all that extra hardware grunt. All right, guys, remember to subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.